Alrighty, let's start off with GJ. So a lot of you have been messaging me since I posted the daily messages to have me analyze GJ. Okay, so GJ, the sell zone and the buy zone are actually quite far apart. After breaking this engulfing sell, price just shot up. Okay, so current price is over here. It is currently how many pips? 140 pips away from my buy zone and 200 pips away from my sell zone. So quite a distance. But GJ is a pair that likes big movements. So we can wait for either the next H4 or even the US session to see where it can go. Because GJ does like to spike up into a zone before respecting it. So we can either wait for a sell over here or a buy down here. Okay, so why am I choosing these zones? Well, this is an engulfing buy. Over here, when price came back, respected over here, then broke. Now this candle was so strong that it broke all the way down into this level over here. Okay, so I'm using this zone right here. Either way, why am I not using this candle? Because this is not an engulfing buy. Okay, this is the price that I will be looking at because we do have a bounce over here. So we can say that the sellers in this candle really overpowered the buyers in this zone. The sellers were really strong because if it breaks this zone, then potentially you might want to test this zone over here because this is the start of this whole drop. But either way, the sellers did overpower the buyers over here, so we can monitor for a potential sell in here. Okay, and for my buy zone, engulfing sell that failed here, price in the process of failing created an engulfing buy, so we have an EFEG buy in this situation. Current price is here. So what can GJ do? Let's just zoom out a little. Now GJ is a bit far, so don't chase it if it does not come into the zone. It's better to wait. Okay, current price, if it decides to drop down into our buy zone and H4 respecting it, meaning it closes within and not below the box, then potentially we can catch a buy back up. But if it breaks below, then we might see the price testing a lower area down here. After breaking the zone, price can either shoot down into this zone in one go or retrace back into the key level for a better sell down. Vice versa, if it decides to just shoot up into our sell zone and respects it, then potentially we can catch a sell down. But if it breaks above, then it might want to test a higher zone. Okay, so what can we do? We wait for the Euro session to end or the next H4 to see where the price goes. After that, you switch to M5 or M15 to monitor for any setups for entry. Meaning, you look for engulfing meets engulfing, engulfing fail meets engulfing, or even EFEGEG or your HLZs or your ABCs, whatever you want to call it, okay? Wait for those setups to form first before pressing to lower your risk, okay? Now that's for GJ. Now let's move on to UJ. Okay, UJ is currently in the sell zone. Okay, and now if we correlate this to GJ, because they are both JPY pairs, GJ and UJ should have a direct correlation. So you can see that UJ is currently in a sell zone, and for GJ, it is not. Okay, but because UJ is in a sell zone and the RJPY pairs cross together, if UJ decides to drop, meaning if it decides to respect this zone right here, you should also see a drop from GJ. Okay, should. I'm not saying that will 100%, but with correlations and everything from the JPY crossing of those pairs, it should happen. Because if JPY decides to break above, then you will see GJ will also fly. Okay, it should fly. I'm not saying 100%, but something that you can monitor and observe for yourself. Okay, so for UJ, we have a sell zone up here and a buy zone down here. Okay, for my sell zone and engulfing buy, that failed, price came back. You can see over here, tested the zone but did not create any engulfings yet. Then it created the first engulfing cell here and the second engulfing cell here, but this did not create a clean breakout yet. So potentially, if this H4 decides to test the key level and the sellers are strong enough and the sellers still want the price to be below this zone, then this might be, or it might create the second engulfing cell. Okay, they're all potentials. Then we have our buy zone down here, engulfing cell that failed. Price came back, created an engulfing buy. So we have EFEG sell up here and also EFEG buy down here. Okay, so what can UJ do? Dun, dun, dun. If UJ decides to respect our sell zone, then we can catch a sell back down within the key levels in either M5 or M15 after the setups have formed. But if it decides to break above the zone, then it might want to test a higher area. Vice versa, if it decides to just drop into our buy zone and respects that, then potentially we can catch a buy back up. But if it breaks below, meaning it closes below the box, then it might want to test a lower area. Okay, but mind you, before it comes down to test this buy area, it has to break below these engulfings. Also, we have an engulfing buy over here, we have another engulfing buy over here. If it breaks below these box or below these engulfings, it will just shoot down into our buy zone. Okay, so something for you to monitor and observe. For UJ or any other pair, now that we know we have to find entries in M5 or M15, where do you set your SLs? Again, I already gave you the key levels. I gave you the time frame to monitor for any entries. So when the price comes into the key level and you found your setups, whether it be in M5 or M15, and after you've entered, then you count 40 pips from your entry. Okay, meaning if you were able to get an entry over here after the setup's informed, then you count 40 pips like this. Or if you were able to get a buy over here after the setups have formed, then you count 40 pips from there. Okay, easy. Just remember 40 pips. That's the standard that I usually use. Okay, this is allow currency pairs to move a little bit. Now we go to the last pair, EA. Okay, EA is one of my favorite pairs because surprisingly it gives very big movements. If you get it in the right direction, it can move 100 to 200 pips a day. But that has to be done with, like the right time frame, the right news, high impact news, and even the session. Okay, so for EA, let's monitor. We have a sell up here and a buy down here. I'm not picking any zones within here because this is all noisy. These are all noise, right? You have ups and downs, no clear like of the highs and the lows. We have for our sell zone, engulfing buy failed. Over here, price came back, created, and even in the process of failing, created an engulfing sell, has another engulfing sell, another engulfing sell. So the sellers here are very strong. Then we have engulfing buys, meets engulfing buy, another engulfing buy, multiple engulfing buys within this zone. Current prices here, what can EA do? Oops, you know what, let's not do that. Let's zoom out a little so we have a bit of space to write. So EA, dun, dun. Current prices here. If it decides to come up into our sell zone and respects that, then potentially we can catch a sell down. But if it breaks above, then it might want to test a higher area. Vice versa, if it decides to drop all the way down into our buy zone, which is very unlikely since the price is closer to the sell zone. But if it does, and it respects our buy zone, then potentially we catch a buy back up. But if it breaks below, then it might want to test a lower area. Okay? So that's it for the 3 pairs. It's only midweek. Don't go ham on it, okay? Use proper money management, proper risk management. Know your capital, know your abilities, and focus on progress, okay? Focus on progress. Whether you win or lose, focus on the trades and why you entered those trades, okay? I'll talk to you soon. Bye.